Hey, it's Paul from howtoplaybassdotcom. This is another in my series of tutorials for beginners. This is the Elvis tune Heartbreak Hotel. Fairly straightforward tune, ideal for beginners because predominantly we've got a quarter note pulse in the bass line. There is a bar in each verse where we've got to play a bar of swing eighth notes, but essentially it's a quarter note pulse all the way through, and then there's the last two bars we've got a little run where the pulse changes to the straight eighth note, the underlying pulse, and then we go back to swing eighth note. So that's a little tricky thing you have to watch out for at the end that might catch you out. But other than that, it's very straightforward, ideal for beginners to start putting their left and right hands together, working in practice on a real world bass line. If that's the kind of practice you want to aspire to do, click the link, it's underneath the video, and head over to the page that will take you to. I've got a course which does exactly that, teaches you basic left and right hand technique, and then applies that information in the context of a series of progressively more complex songs or more difficult songs, which range from simple rock and roll songs, simple rock songs, right through to some quite up-tempo eighth note tunes at the end. So go and check that out if that would be of interest to you, and we'll get on with the lesson and we'll look at the first verse of Heartbreak Hotel. So you just saw the first two verses being played along with the backing track. The main difference is the first verse, we don't come in on the downbeat, we don't come in till bar 4 with this, with that run, and on the second, third and fourth verses we play an E on the downbeat. We'll come to that in a second. So we start on the, as I just said, on the fourth verse, and we're going to play a swing eighth note feel. We've got 2 E's, the 9th fret of the G string, 2 D's, 7th fret of the G string, 3 C sharps, the 6th fret of the G string, slide down to the 4th fret, 1 B, 4th fret of the G string, and you slide down to facilitate that shift there to play the next note, which is A, the 7th fret of the D string, because then the pattern there we need to be in that kind of position. So that's the first bar on the fourth beat, the fourth bar. Then we've got 2 bar pattern for the A chord, very traditional bluesy kind of pattern. We're playing A, G, 7th and 5th frets of the D string, E, 7th fret of the A string and C sharp, 4th fret of the A string, and then low A, 5th fret of the E string or the open A, C sharp and E, 4th and 7th of the A string again, and then A, again either 5th fret of the E string or you could play the open A. I play the 5th fret of the E string. Then we've got 2 more bars we're going to play. That's the next phrase, which is B, A, G sharp, F sharp. B, this time we're fretting at the 4th fret of the G string, A, G sharp, F sharp, 7, 6 and 4 of the D string. So you've got to go from, let's do the 2 bars of A, and then you've got to get up to get that jump from that A to B there, and play that pattern we just talked about, and then the final bar we're going to play E, G sharp, B, G sharp, 7th fret of the A string for E, 6 and 9 of the D string for G sharp and B, and back to G sharp. And then on the second verse we play the first downbeat, which is E at the 7th fret of the A string again. Now the thing to notice here is when you listen to the original recording was done on double bass. That downbeat, which if you played it in kind of a contemporary tune would be a stab, so you'd give it an accent. But if you listen to the original recording, it's not an accent, so it's very important. So you get the 2-bar pattern that leads up to it, and you get that E to have the same dynamic as the rest of the piece you just played. You'll get accents into the song from the guitar stabs that come in, those two that come in and repeated twice before you come back in again. So that E on the downbeat is the only difference between verse 1 and verses 2, 3 and 4. So you play on verse 2, you play, and then you get the guitars ba-down, ba-down, then you get 1, 2, 3, 4, and you be into the same pattern again. So that's the main verse pattern. The next thing we need to look at is there's a variation, very simple variation for the guitar solo. So that's the next section we need to go look at. So let's go check that out. You just heard the guitar solo with the backing track. Very simple, slight variations, but very simple. First 4 bars, we're just going to play this pattern 4 times, which is E, G sharp, B, C sharp, E, G sharp, B, C sharp, E, G sharp, B, C sharp, E 7th fret of the A string, 6 and 9 for G sharp and B of the D string, 6 of the G string for C. Then we're going to play this pattern that we've